Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. I am Sean Anderson, Most Valuable Podcast, and the upcoming segment is from our full Fast Break podcast that we recorded. And if you do want to check out that full podcast, head over to Blog Talk Radio/The Fast Break. You'll be able to find the full podcast over there. And that's going to transition into the talk of Brandon Knight possibly becoming a King. And this is going to be a short discussion. We're not going to go too in-depth into this one. But like Dave said, DeMarcus Cousins, 29 points, 10 rebounds, 1.5 blocks per game. I even think he's 3 assists a game, shooting 37.5% from three. He's an electric, dynamic player, a great player like Ricky brought up. And there's rumors since, Eric Bledsoe isn't starting. You have Eric Gordon in front of him. And I'm sorry, not Eric Gordon. You have Eric Bledsoe in front of him. He wants to be a starter. He wants to be in that role. And there's talks between them, or at least there's rumors about this. And what Ryan McDonough of the GM of the Suns said we're not looking to move Brandon. We haven't been close to trading Brandon. I think he'd love to be starting. We understand that. He's accepted the new role very well. And I think you guys will see him go on a run here. But still, the Suns are struggling, and if you could bring in young players, you could bring in someone to help the Suns long term, and the Kings, who are close to that 8th spot, and you bring in a guy like Brandon Knight, who not only is locked up till 2020, and that plays in because Darren Collison and Ty Lawson are going to be free agents after this year, but he also does have a connection to Boogie in the fact that they have played for Coach Cal and they have played for Kentucky. They missed each other by a year, but do you think it would be smart for the Suns to trade
Yes.
Brandon Knight?
Yes, it would be. And the reason why I think the Kings are a good partner is, like you said, the Kings have pieces right now that they are not using in huge minutes that could help the Suns. A guy that we all liked in college that, he's getting limited playing time with the Kings right now is Malachi Richardson. Also, we got Scal, who's limited playing time with the Kings. You've got those two. You've got Rudy Gay that you could try to get from the Kings. The Kings have pieces.
I don't know about Rudy Gay.
Well, I'm just saying you can work out something. Like, they have things that you can go after. And for the Kings, I know they have Collison. I know they have Ty Lawson. But you're telling me you would want either of those guys over Brandon Knight as your starting point guard? I'll take Brandon Knight.
I'm on the opposite side of this one. I think that Brandon Knight is down. I don't want to say the downcline. I hate that has become so normal.
Downcline.
He's on the downcline in his career. He is not performing well. He is obviously not been doing good since he's been coming off the bench. His numbers are statistically the worst in the last couple of years. And the thing that I see the most out of this is he doesn't vibe well with that bench lineup. Like, when you put a guy as a 6th man, there's a certain kind of role that they need to play for the team, and he still sees himself as a star, which he's not. He's clearly not, and he can't be that go-to guy anymore.
Now, I don't think Brandon Knight's ever been considered a star. I don't think he's ever considered himself a star, but at least Brandon Knight has been a starter before, and I think he wants to be at that starter level, which, really everyone in the NBA does. They want to see themselves as a starter, and they want to see themselves as a difference maker. So if Brandon Knight's able to go to the Kings here, and with Collison and Ty Lawson's contracts coming up at the end of the season, not only is Brandon Knight younger than both of those, he might see a resurgence in his career, and he is locked down for longer than these guys, so they won't have to worry about Cousins. They won't have to worry about Bledsoe, or not Bledsoe, Knight moving. I keep mixing up my Kentucky guards, so if I say Bledsoe at all, I probably mean Knight, but really, I just think that you might see a resurgence if you're seeing Bledsoe play with a high-level player like DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah, it definitely opens up the opportunity to stuff the stat line. As we saw, Rondo last year turned into the assist leader because of Boogie, mostly. And he was also able to fill out a lot of other things, because that's one thing you can do in Sacramento is have a great personal game. Unfortunately, as a team, they don't seem to gel together ever. They may have a couple of good pieces. Like, I think Collison, if he returns to his three-point shooting like he was a little bit, we saw a little bit of him excelling there. If he can really bring that back, this is a team that could be dynamic, because Rudy Gay is always going to be able to score, and Boogie will always be able to score.
And that's the one thing with why I feel like a trade for Brandon Knight could benefit the Kings, because like when I said, you'll take him over Collison over Lawson, that's at the point guard position. There's nothing against me moving Collison. If he can up that 3-point like he had it, I'd take him at the shooting guard position over Ben McLemore.
Well,
and then you could have
Aaron Aflalo's there,
Well,
and he's been struggling for the Kings, but still, Aaron Aflalo's a better.
But you could have Collison and Knight as your starting two in the backcourt.
But Collinson's so small. I don't think that would work. Wise. I think Collinson off the bench is a great idea, but then you're really limiting Ty Lawson's minutes. So I think it would be difficult having all three of those players there. But maybe with Ty Lawson's kind of resurgence and his ability to get over his demons, then maybe you'll be able to move him, but also that makes Darren Collinson, I think, more valuable because Collinson is been in the league longer. Obviously, he had that stuff early in the season, but he's still a guy who's been around for a while. He doesn't have the kind of DUIs that Ty Lawson has.
Yeah, he's got a cleaner record. You could just say that.
Even though he does have the I believe he was assault, right? Early in the season. But I mean, with one thing is I think that he's just more valuable, so I think that you might be able to move a guy like Collinson if you bring in I'm going to just say Bledsoe, Brandon Knight.
So what's the goal here? I mean, is this a Kings team going all in? If you go for Brandon Knight, are you thinking that you're going to retain? Well, that means
might be able to get to an 8 spot though, which
is better than they've done in the past.
And one thing, too, Collinson's...
It just means that they're hoping to hang on to Boogie, which is just throwing a complete verb to what everybody's been saying is Boogie's on the block. Boogie's got to be moved. Every GM in the league says Boogie needs to be moved every year. So,
I'm saying it.
And they're not alone. It's confusing to see them kind of mix up the direction then by bringing in Brandon Knight. But you're right, Brandon Knight's young. I think he's like 25 still.
Yeah, and
he's just played for a while.
And one thing too, I mean, you just have to worry about his injuries, and obviously he's had multiple.
He reminds me kind of like Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
where it's like he's an excellent player in short spurts, but I think Drew Holiday is much better than Brandon Knight.
Yeah, so I think just overall, plus you'll be able to hold him longer. So I think that's one thing. You have youth, and if you could stay on the court, you'll have him for longer. So I think it wouldn't be an awful idea, and I think the Suns should move Brandon Knight at some point. Because
I agree.
Because you'll have to move Bledsoe, who does have more value, but I think he is a piece that you can build around because looking at his stats, I mean, I believe Dave, you said he's a mini LeBron James.
Yep, I love him
stat wise.
He fills out every stat you need. And he plays bigger than he is, which is the best thing as a point guard. What you want a guy who can play up and be able to body up against small forwards and even go down in the paint, and that's exactly what he gives you.
And one thing too with the Suns, and this is my last point on the Suns, and you guys can jump in right after here. And with the Suns and this trade, I think it would benefit both teams because the Kings, if Brandon Knight can find that niche he had back in Detroit and Milwaukee, where he was shooting like 40% from three and putting up 19 a game, that will help the Kings get to a playoff spot. And then the Suns, this team is pretty well set up, to be honest with you, because you have Bledsoe, who's kind of your veteran on that team, which is kind of sad to say. You have Tyson Chandler as well, but I mean, at least starting. You have Bledsoe, who I think is obviously a great piece. You have Devin Booker, who last year showed phenomenal presence, and if he doesn't have this weight on his shoulder of having to be the guy to perform, he's a fantastic piece. You see obviously the potential in Marquise Chris and Dragon Bender. I don't know if they're there yet, and obviously they're not there yet.
They need a whole lot more time.
Yeah, and Alex Len's a good piece there as well, and T.J. Warren for a spurt there. He was absolutely fantastic. I'm high on T.J. Warren, so I think this team needs veteran help, and I think that maybe Earl Watson isn't the right choice there at head coach, but still, it's a season. He doesn't have the right roster around him, but still, I think that you need more help veteran-wise, and I think that possibly Alex Len might be more suited for a bench spot, but he's still good. So I think just this team not only needs time, but they need veterans to help them grow. And it's kind of like that KG spot there, because Leandro Barbosa, while he is a veteran, I just don't see him as a vocal leader. So I think you need someone who can be a vocal leader for this team in a positive way, not like a DeMarcus Cousins where he might be hurting the
wrong
team.
Kind of vocal.
Yeah.
I see this team as they've got two guys, like they've got their backcourt, and it's the Kentucky backcourt mainly. I'm going to take Knight out of it because he would be hypothetically traded, but like Bledsoe, Booker, and then the rest of the team is like, yeah, Chris is the guy you're going to have at the 4 in the future. So like this year, it's kind of like he's a project, just develop him into the NBA player you want. But like I see the rest of this team, and it's like, where are you going to go with it? To me, Tyson Chandler is a guy where, yeah, you've got him under contract, but I don't see him as a long-term answer at the 5. Alex Len, to me, has been kind of, he hasn't lived up to when you draft a guy 5th overall, I mean, that could go back to, you can say, well, Ricky, the 2013 draft class was not a strong draft class to begin with. But when you draft a guy who's a sophomore, so literally you can take it as if he came out his freshman year, basically 4 years, like some of the guys who came out his freshman year the year before. This is a guy that has not shown the progression that I would have liked to seen from him 3 years in the NBA, to where it's like, great, you've got Bledsoe, you've got Booker. What else do you got?
One thing, though, I never saw Alex Len as a scoring threat. He's pretty decent defensively. He's a good rebounder. He's got a high motor. And I think that you can have him come off the bench.
I'm saying 3 years in the league as the number 5th overall pick in 2013. You should be a starter.
But like you said,
should be a starter. This guy's our 5. That's what he should be right now, and he's not.
But a great guy like Tyson Chandler is soaking up contract money.
3 years,
13 million.
Yeah, 3 years, 36 million. So, but the one thing with Alex Len, I think he's a decent piece at least off the bench for you. And again, like you said, 2013 was a very weak draft, and the only superstar that has really come out of that one, and I think you have Oladipo at 2, and someone's going to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Oladipo at 2, and then 15 was Giannis.
Yeah, no, but you know who was,
I said that right.
You know who was 6th, right behind Alex Len, that the Suns could have? Nerlens.
Oh, okay.
Could have had
Nerlens there too.
But this is a Suns team who loves giving up, value. So the deal they actually brought Brandon Knight there. They ended up giving up that Lakers first pick, which is this year finally going to land, unless the Lakers tank like hell. This is going to land a top 3 pick, or a four outside pick to the 76ers. So, look, they gave up a decent price for Brandon Knight. I think that he is, I think they can just call it a wash. Like, look, we've been drafting backcourt. We've been getting guard. We need to move him and get some pieces down low. And, they're working on it.
Yeah, one thing, though, with going off Ricky's point, I think the backcourt is set, and I think he brought up a good point. Eric Bledsoe, got the guy right. That's mixing up my Kentucky guards. Eric Bledsoe and Devin Booker, those are 2 pieces that you can build off of. And then I think TJ Warren at that 3, he might end up into a bench player, but I think what I saw from him in those first games and the games that he was starting before he went down with an injury, he was electric there, and he was able to show that scoring he had in NC State. And then at the 4, you have Dragan Bender, who obviously it's gonna take time for him to develop. He's not like the Kristaps, who Kristaps just came in and was immediately successful. Dragan's gonna need some time. I mean, I think we knew that when he first came out. And then at the 5, I think you can have Chris, because yes, he's not as big as most 5s. He might get bullied down there, but he is so athletic, and he can just jump like out of the goddamn roof. I mean, it's impressive what he can do. And then you have Len on your bench. You have, and then that's when you bring in your veterans. And I think Brandon Knight is a movable piece, and I wouldn't be surprised if they move him to the Kings, and it might be a smart idea. But thank you. Oh shit! Oh, it's just one of our videos scared me a little bit. Don't forget to check out that one, and also don't forget to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. But thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.